Good morning. I am Philip Griffiths and would like to welcome everyone to this first uh, workshop in the year on Hodge theory being held at IMSA, the Institute of the Mathematical Sciences of the Americas. IMSA is an institute supported by the University of Miami and the Simons Foundation. It was created to promote mathematics broadly conceived and foster collaboration across the countries of the Americas. This year, the special topic is Hodge theory, and as I said, this is the first workshop. And our first speaker, I think quite appropriately, is Claire Voisin. I think more than anyone else that I know, she has transformed the field of complex algebraic geometry using Hodge theory and other techniques over the past quarter century. She solved numerous outstanding problems, conjectures, many of them long-standing. She also, through counterexamples, I think, has defined the boundaries of the field. Claire is a member, has received many prizes. She is a member of the French Academy of Sciences and a foreign associate of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. Today she will speak on decomposition of the diagonal and specialization. Claire?
Thank you very much for the invitation to speak here and also for the nice introduction. So I start with the basic definition. I will assume that X is a smooth projective over C of dimension n. In fact, none of these assumptions are necessary, but very quickly for applications, I will need smooth and projective. And C is mostly to use Betti cohomology. It's the natural thing that I like. And so the definition, yes, what I wanted to say is that for applications, what I use very much is a characteristic 0, because I will need desynchronization. So the definition that X has a Chow decomposition of diagonal. So I choose a point here, and the result, the definition won't depend on the point. If you can write the diagonal of X, the minus X cross the point. So it's an equality in a Chow of X cross X. Where the cycle gamma is supported on D cross X, where D is a proper closed algebraic subset. So, when you have this definition, you see when X is smooth and projective, you see immediately that CH0 of X is Z, that is all the points are rationally equivalent, so the definition does not depend on the point. So the relevance of the definition for the subject of rationality is an even stable rationality is the following result, which is easy to even very easy to prove. If X is stably rational, X has a Chow decomposition of diagonal. Stably rational, that means that X cross P to the R is rational. So you have to check that if X is that the definition is independent, doesn't depend on stably rational means that yes, you are stably rationally equivalent to a point. And so, in fact, the general statement is that this property is invariant under a stable rational equivalence. So it's very easy to show that you have to show that it is invariant under replacing x by x cross PR, which follows because PR itself has a decomposition of the diagonal, and also that it is invariant under birational, by taking birational map. And here it's essential to always work with smooth projective models. And well, that's really not that hard to. So this is a necessary criterion for stable rationality. And in fact, we have in mind, of course, the Lurod problem or the stable Lurod problem, which study the rationality problem or stable rationality problem for, say, unirational or even rationally connected varieties. So our goal is to study the existence of a decomposition of the diagonal for, say, rationally connected varieties. And one remark is that if X is rationally connected, X has a Chow decomposition of the diagonal with a Q coefficient. Again, something which is not very hard. There is a still more general statement, which is due to Bloch and Srinivas. And in fact, the definition here originates in the work of Bloch and Srinivas. Bloch and Srinivas proved in their paper reproving Mumford theorem on zero cycles and differential forms. They proved that if a variety over C has a CH0 equal to Z, which is the case if X is rationally connected, all the points are rationally equivalent, then it admits a decomposition of the Chow decomposition of the diagonal with Q coefficient, which means that here you will have a cycle with Q coefficient, and here you will work in a Chow tensor Q. So the goal is to finally distinguish the property of having the decomposition of the diagonal with Q coefficient and decomposition of the diagonal with integral coefficient. So that will. So what I want to discuss is what are what sort of properties the decomposition of the diagonal implies. So first of all, I want to discuss the cohomological version. So the cohomological version is exactly the same, except that you will work with the cycle classes. So instead of working in Chow n of x cross x, you will work in Betti cohomology. So that the advantage of working over C is that you have a cohomology theory with a Z coefficient. So the definition, X has a cohomological decomposition of diagonal. If, and this is exactly the same, except that we consider cycle classes. And the equality at the end is in Betti cohomology of x cross x with Q coefficient. So it is slightly out of. This. Okay, so So I want to discuss a number of implications or consequences of this definition. And in fact, they will all be obtained from the following restatement. Of course, here the end is the same as before. There is a restatement of this definition. Here you see that there is a divisor. Of course, the D, you can always assume it is a divisor in X, and it's in fact you can almost never take it smooth. However, you can assume in general the D to be a normal crossing divisor. Of course, at the price of blowing up X, our definition is invariant, it's birationally invariant, so we can replace X by a blow up, and then we can achieve D to be of a divisor with even a simple normal crossing. So let me now explain reformulation. So it's a result that I obtained 3 or 4 years ago, which more precisely I formulated it in cohomology, and then it was rewritten in Chao by Mingming Shen, but in fact the proof is the same. So it's Mingming Shen. So here it was in the cohomological setting. Here it was in the Chao setting, which is the following: X has a decomposition Chao or cohomological decomposition of the diagonal. If and only if there exists smooth projective varieties, the I of dimension n-2 and correspondences gamma I in CH n-1 of the I cross X plus integers and I that can be taken to be plus or minus 1, such that and then you get the following equality: delta X minus X cross X minus X cross X is sigma over I of Ni gamma I lower star of the diagonal of the I. So this gamma I, you see, so this is a correspondence between the I cross the I. So and X cross X, you can imagine how it is done. If it is just if the gamma I is just a cycle, that will be just an effective variety that will be just the product, the self product of the effective variety, and then otherwise you develop by linearity. So well, so let me explain the proof. So I will explain the proof in a simplified case. when, which almost never happens, when the divisor D that appeared in the definition of the decomposition of the diagonal, and D is smooth. I said, oh, well, of course, there is an equivalent here, but the implication this way is almost trivial. The implication this way is obvious because then you see the dimension of the cycle gamma I is n-1. So when you write this like this, then it is clear that the delta x is supported over D cross x. D is it's the image of the support of the gamma I in X. So the difficult what we have to prove is actually the implication that way. So we start, we assume that X has a decomposition of the diagonal, and we want to exhibit this Zi and gamma I. So D is small, so you write G is the inclusion of D in X, and we have a delta X minus X cross X, which is the G identity of X lower star of cycle gamma in Chn of X cross X, which I prefer to write in the form that I think in terms of self-correspondences of X. This is saying that the diagonal, this correspondence here, it is G lower star of T gamma. So T gamma, it's a correspondence of it's the transpose correspondence in T gamma. It is in Chn of X cross D. Then you compose with the correspondence G lower star, and that's what this is equivalent. So now you transpose this equality, and you get that delta X minus X cross X is, when you transpose this, that gives you gamma composed with G upper star. So here the G lower star is just the graph of the inclusion of D in X, and the G upper star, it is the same thing but transposed and contained in X cross D. And then you compose the two. When you compose, so I have to do, when you compose this one with this one, you get that on the left, when you compose this correspondence with this correspondence, you get delta X minus X cross X minus X cross X. And on the right, you get gamma composed with G upper star, composed with G lower star, composed with T gamma. But it is here that we see the Zi and integer Ni appearing, because this composition G upper star composed with G lower star, we know very well what it is. It is the intersection of, well, it's the correspondence of intersection with the divisor D restricted to D, and so the excess formula. So you write this cycle, so if you like G upper star D. No, it's a codimension 1 cycle on D, and you write it sigma of Ni Zi, where you can assume that of course the Ni to be plus or minus 1, and the Zi smooth. So, on this example, I could just take the difference of two smooth divisors on D, and then it's finished, because then I define the gamma I to be gamma restricted to Zi, and you see immediately that this equality at the end gives what I wrote before, delta X minus X cross X minus X cross X is equal to sigma over I of Ni. So maybe it's better to write it in the form gamma I composed with T gamma I. As this is equivalent with the previous formula. So this is in CHN of X cross X. Okay, so that's a proof. And now I want to explain the consequences. Well, so this is a proof in Chow, but of course in cohomology that will be exactly the same when you put cycle classes everywhere. So now what we get as a corollary, so the first sort of corollaries, in fact, will be only of an additive nature. If X has a Chow decomposition of diagonal, or again, then what you see is that so it's really the formula for the whole motif. Here I am just writing the consequence on the Chow groups themselves. So the gamma I upper star from CH, and now I have to consider the Chow groups of X of intermediate codimension, so strictly comprised between 0 and n. Inject into CH star minus 1 of here I have to put plus over I with inverse, with left inverse sigma of Ni T gamma I, so that is gamma I over star. Okay, this is just what this this is just by letting these equalities in of self-correspondences of X, you let them act on Chow groups of X. Here, this act trivially, precisely on Chow groups of intermediate dimension. And so when the left-hand side on this Chow group, this direction of Chow groups of intermediate dimension will act as a diagonal, so as the identity. And so we get that for Z in here, you apply this correspondence, that will, it's the same as letting this correspondence act, but it is exactly sigma of over I of Ni, gamma I over star, gamma I over star. And similarly, so here, similarly, if I am in the cohomological setting, that is, I have a cohomological decomposition of the diagonal, I will get that the gamma I upper star, so the family of maps gamma I upper star, that will go now from now I consider a cohomology of X of intermediate dimension, intermediate degree, and similarly it will inject in Q's of the direct sum of H star minus 2I, no, minus 2, sorry, of the I. And again, you with the left inverse given by this. So, in other words, the Chow groups of intermediate dimension of X become direct cement in the Chow groups of a variety of dimension n-2. And what you see is that in this formula, because the dimension of the I is n-2, both the codimension and the dimension decreased by 1. So okay, so the gamma I, so if you consider gamma I upper star of Z, the codimension is the codimension of Z minus 1, but also the dimension is the dimension of Z minus 1. So that means that all the results, the general results we know about cycles of codimension k minus 1 will be true for cycles of codimension k on X if X has a decomposition of the Chow decomposition of the diagonal. And similarly, all the results we know about the cycles of low dimension will be true for cycles of dimension 1 more on a variety which admits the Chow decomposition of the diagonal. So let me explain finally. Let me give a number of such consequences. And each time, of course, the game, for me, the very interesting game is to consider all these properties that will emerge from, will be obtained as a consequence of this formalism from having a decomposition of the diagonal, and asking which of these properties can be violated for a rationally connected manifold. So now corollary of the corollary. So, for example, what do we know about CH1? About CH1, we know that the Griffith group of X is always 0. That is, for divisors, codimension 1 cycles which are homologous to 0 are algebraically equivalent to 0. Okay? So we conclude that if X has a Chow decomposition of diagonal, the Griff 2 of X is 0, because it is by this formalism, it is put into direct cement into the Griff 1 of the ZI. But the problem is also that that's an example where we find a property which is in fact satisfied in general. It is true in general for any X which is rationally connected. So in that case, it's not so interesting. So what do we know also about CH1 is that the Abel-Jacobi map is isomorphic to the corresponding intermediate Jacobian. So we find also that if X has a Chow decomposition of the diagonal, now that will be the Abel-Jacobi map for codimension 2 cycles, homologous or algebraically equivalent to 0, is an isomorphism. The problem is that again these results are due to Bloch, absolutely non-trivial. Bloch. This statement This is true in general for X rationally connected. But next, if you consider general results about now about CH2, this is an important result due to Bloch, which is in some sense a generalization of Rothman. It says that the kernel of the Abel-Jacobi map from CH2 of X Al to G, so it's G3 of X, has no torsion. So maybe let me not put an X. So for any Y, it is known that the kernel of the second Abel-Jacobi map, the Abel-Jacobi map on codimension 2 cycles, algebraical equivalent to 0, has no torsion. So in that case, we get a next corollary that will concern the CH3 of an X. So if X has a Chow decomposition of the diagonal, we get that the kernel of the third Abel-Jacobi map on CH3 of X. So now its value is G5 of X has no torsion. And so because, if X has a Chow decomposition of the diagonal, so this group, this is identified to something concerning codimension 2 cycles on the ZI. And here we get this invariant. This is a property which is not true in general for X rationally connected. And in fact, this group, the kernel of the torsion of the kernel of the Abel-Jacobi map, it is a cycle of which can be computed in terms of an ramified cohomology. Maybe in fact it's more about cycles homologous with Ronchian. So in any case, we see that if you go to cycles of a codimensional P3, we get interesting invariant. Now, if I said that this correspondence also lowers the dimension. So what do we know about what are the general results which are available for cycles of small dimension? We have the following result, and now small dimension. An obvious statement is that the graph 0 of any y, the y will be the zi, is 0, that is 0 cycles homologous to 0 are algebraically equivalent to 0. And there is another statement that is available concerning 0 cycles, which is the Rothman theorem on torsion, which says that the kernel of the Abel-Jacobi map, which is the Albanese map, from 0 cycles homologous to 0 to the Albanese variety, this kernel has no torsion. Okay. So now we apply the machinery and we find the following condition. The following corollary. Again, if X has a Chow decomposition of diagonal, graph 1 of x is 0 because via the gamma I upper star it is mapped to the stage 0 group of graph 0 group of the I and the kernel of the Abel-Jacobi map for one cycle, so that will be by x n minus 1 from stage 1 of x home to now this is g to n minus 3 x has no torsion. So this is interesting because here I don't know what is the situation, so I can just ask this as a question. Let x be rationally connected. Is it true that R1 and 2 satisfied? But is it always true that Griffith's group of one cycles of a rationally connected variety is trivial and there is no torsion? So for me, these are very interesting questions. Where I don't know the answer. So now I would like to give play the same game now in cohomology, and we will see again that we get some predictions which sometimes are always satisfied for rationally connected and sometimes not. So now that will be more about cohomology. It's exactly the same game. We examine what are the sort of general results which are available for cohomology of a small degree, or homology of small degree, and we find that if x has a division of the diagonal, it should also be true in a higher degree plus 1 for x. So now in this situation, so what here the results which are available are not so many. First of all, that the cycle class map is from 0 cycles for general Y. The cycle class map from 0 cycles on x to h0 of x z is surjective. So we have this, and the other general result that we have is that the cycle class map from z1 of x, cycles of codimension 1, to now to Hodge classes of degree 2. Integral Hodge, this is the Lechet-1 theorem. It says that the Hodge conjecture is true for cycle classes, for Hodge classes, integral Hodge classes on any smooth projective Y. The Y will be our I. And so we conclude that we apply this result, and that then yes, there is a third property that is always true, namely the torsion of H1 of YZ is equal to 0. So we have three general statements which that will hold for Y, and then we get first of all the conditions that the cycle class map so H2 of XZ is surjective. Second, that the cycle class map for codimension 2 cycles on X to integral Hodge classes on X is surjective. And the third, so here it just corresponds. Here this is this one translated in the degree plus 2 to X via this formula from the Zi to the X. Here, as I said, we also have a shift in codimension. So this property will provide this one. And finally, the fact that there is no torsion here will say that here we should have the vanishing of the torsion in a degree 3 integral Vt cohomology. And the situation now is interesting. Now we turn to the question whether these properties will be true for any rationally connected varieties, because that's the interesting setting. In fact, of course, this is called the Artin-Mumford invariant. And there are examples in dimension 3 of rationally connected, due to Artin and Mumford, of rationally connected triples, which have a non-trivial such invariant. So it's not this is not a property generally satisfied by rationally connected varieties. Similarly, this one, so this was in fact it has been identified by Kolyot-Helen and myself as a part of degree 3 unramified cohomology. Well, the co-kernel of this map. Okay, so this is due to Kolyot-Helen and myself. And then previous examples due to Kolyot-Helen and Ojangeren. Shows that there exist rationally connected, in their example, there were the 6 poles with a non-trivial such invariant. So this property is not in general satisfied by rationally connected varieties. And for this one, we don't know. We don't know. So this is I leave this as a question, except that in fact there is a strong evidence, which is due to myself a deformation argument, that this map is always surjective for rationally connected manifolds. So problem proves that. If X is rationally connected, the cycle class map for one cycle is surjective. The whole degree 2 homology is algebraic, the image of the cycle class. So in fact, the reason why I formulate the question that way is that I prove that this will be a consequence of the Tet conjecture for divisor classes on surfaces over finite fields. So there is a strong evidence that should be true, but there is no proof. So I would like to now to turn to all these consequences are additive consequences of the first formula I gave. And now I would like to turn to a multiplicative consequence. I said that so multiplicative consequence, by this I mean that when you consider the Chow group, you also have the intersection product, and similarly for cohomology, you have the cup product. So now I am saying that the decomposition of the diagonal also has consequences on the structure of the multiplicative the structure. The point is that I recall the formula. X has a decomposition of the diagonal. That implies that delta x minus x cross x minus x cross x is sigma over I of ni. And here I put it in the form gamma I lower star composed with gamma I upper star. No, maybe it's not. And as a consequence, so this was the gamma I being correspondences in the I cross x, and now this implies that this formula that for any z in the intermediate in the Chow groups of intermediate dimension, I had z, so I already proved that, which is a sigma of ni gamma I lower star of gamma I upper star of z. And you have a similar formula in cohomology. But very formally, simply because the gamma I upper star is the transpose of the gamma I lower star, this implies that for any z prime in this group, I get that the intersection product z prime is now which is computed on x, and maybe put it like this, is equal to sigma over I of ni, and here I put gamma I upper star z, gamma I upper star z prime, and now the intersection, so maybe write it like that, is taken on the I. So it's very clear because I will just replace in this formula z prime or z by this formula, and I apply a formal adjunction. So and this property, so that says that this identification of the Chow group of X Chow of intermediate dimension to direct summon in plus, so this is gamma I upper star, and that maps to the Chow ring of the Zi. This identification, in fact, preserves almost preserves the intersection pairing, except for this coefficient ni, which, as I said, can be taken plus or minus 1. Now we have a similar statement with cohomology. You will get that for any alpha in cohomology of x of intermediate degree, the alpha beta, I get that the intersection pairing between alpha and beta on x is a sigma over I of ni. And here I will have a gamma I upper star alpha, gamma I upper star beta, and this is the intersection pairing on the I. Okay, so what is the consequence of this? I'm afraid I have no time for the specialization method, but that's maybe not very important. So what is so let me explain the meaning, the geometric meaning of this formula in one case. So I consider the case where x, the dimension of x is 3. Then, of course, for rationally connected trifold, the only interesting Hodge structure that will be the H tree. On the H tree, so it's okay, so it has a Hodge structure, so maybe we should take modulo torsion. So it is of dimension 2G, and there is a unimodular intersection pairing. And out of this, you construct the intermediate Jacobian D tree of X, which is very important in the work of Clemens and Griffiths, which has always been very important in rationality, in the study of rationality questions. So this D tree of X, it is H12 of X, so here there is no H03, over H3 of XZ. And using this unimodular intersection pairing, which satisfies the Hodge-Riemann relation, this D tree of X is made into a principally polarized abelian variety. So now I apply this formula. So to a rationally connected X, which admits the cohomological decomposition of the diagonal, and I get the following result. Yes, so this is a principally polarized abelian variety. I denote by theta x the theta divisor class, which is which corresponds, which is given by the in cohomology by this intersection pairing. So now associated to this divisor class, there is a class which is called the minimal class, which is theta x to the g minus 1 over g minus 1 factorial, which is an integral Hodge class of degree, if you like, a homology class of degree 2 on the D3 of X. And of course, theta x, of course, it's a class of the theta divisor. So theta x to the d minus 1, it is an algebraic cohomology class. But here we divide it by d minus 1 factorial. It is still integral, and we don't know if it is algebraic. So now one corollary of this formula is this corollary. If X has a cohomological decomposition of diagonal, the class theta min is algebraic. So I would like to contrast this with the Clemens-Griffiths criterion. So in particular, this is true, for example, if X is stably rational. So the difference with the Clemens Clemens-Griffiths criterion, Clemens-Griffiths says that if X is rational, which is of course stronger than stably rational, the class theta min, so this is an equivalent formulation. They say that of course the D3 of X is as a PPAV is a direct sum of Jacobian of curves, but in fact by the Matsusaka criterion, this is equivalent to saying that the class theta min is the class of an effective cycle. So you see the difference. Here I have a weaker assumption, stably rational, but I have also a weaker conclusion, namely the class, the minimal class, is algebraic. So it is the cohomology class of a cycle, which is maybe not effective. So let me explain this and how this follows from this. The point is that, again, it's very formal. But the point is that how to understand this class theta mean. You understand it very well, precisely using the intersection pairing. So it's a K product on H3 of X. So you have an isomorphism like this. Yeah. So here I have to take the torsion-free part. So this is modulo torsion. On this, I have the unimodular Poincaré pairing, and now the class theta mean. So if I have a class alpha x here, I will denote by alpha g the corresponding degree 1 cohomology class on G3 of x. And the class theta mean is characterized by this property, by this formula. That the integral over theta mean of alpha g product with beta g is the same as the integral over x of alpha x beta x, which is alpha x this intersection pairing. And so now, okay. Now suppose that you have this formula like this. You have all these correspondence. Now the Zi are curves, so smooth curves. Okay, so by the Abel-Jacobi map, you call it phi gamma I. You have this map the Zi to the G3 of X. Okay, so maybe call it. So this formula here, it is exactly saying that alpha beta x is a sigma over I of ni upper star of the integral over the I. Okay, so here it's alpha x, beta x, and here it's but now this is simply saying so this is also the sum over theta mean of alpha g with K product with beta g, and you conclude that sigma over I of ni phi gamma I lower star of the class of the I. This class is equal to the minimal class. Okay, so this is the way that well, all this is very formal. In fact, yes, I wanted to discuss also the specialization method, but maybe I'll say a word about it tomorrow. I will continue tomorrow discussing things related to the Abel-Jacobi maps on rationally connected trefolds, but maybe something slightly more geometric. Okay, I'm going to stop.
Okay, can I ask a question if nobody else wants to start? Do you think there's a theory that would be like this, but for some kind of intermediate Kodaira dimensions? Instead of Kodaira dimension like minus infinity, something sort of a vibrational version of this type of theory?
But then, what do you, I mean, I try to, you mean, no, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
It's kind of vague, but can you say something or other about the properties of the diagonal class in the cases where the Canard dimension is not, where it's not going to be rational, but something in the middle?
But, in fact, I mean, you really don't see the Kodaira dimension. Since we know examples, for example, of Godot surfaces, which are surfaces with ample canonical class containing no rational curve, and for which you know that the CH0 is trivial. And for these surfaces, for example, I prove that having, in that case, when you know that CH0 is Z, all points are rational equivalent, there is a decomposition of the diagonal with Q coefficients. And in that case, I prove that with Z coefficients, the only condition which is needed is that there is no torsion in H3. That was the equation. For the cohomology, I prove even for the Chow decomposition. So this illustrates the fact that in Chow groups, they don't really see the Kodaira dimension. And that is known since, I would say, since Mumford, or examples of Griffiths, Godot. The very important point is the fact that Chow groups, they see, and conjecturally they are governed by the, for CH0, they are governed by holomorphic differential forms. Then for higher dimensional cycles, you need to go more into Hodge theory to understand what controls the Chow groups. But in any case, zero cycles will be governed by holomorphic differential forms only. While the Kodaira dimension, at least also conjecturally, it is the pluridifferential forms, holomorphic pluridifferential forms. And they are definitely different. So and one can see it is, I mean, another way of seeing the difficulty is the fact that the pluridifferential forms, of course, they have a good functoriality property in the sense that they are contravariant, but they are not covariant. So that means that correspondences, they do not act on pluridifferential forms. And that's all that simply kills the, I mean, kills not completely, but what I'm saying that from the viewpoint of Chow groups, you see only, zero cycles, you will see only the holomorphic differential forms themselves. And there, all that is hidden in the higher tensor product of the omega shifts. I don't think that would be wonderful to make a theory which relate something geometric like the Chow groups to the pluridifferential forms, but at the moment, it's not the picture is really that to the contrary, I think that the two theories are disconnected.
But does it mean that for K-trivial varieties, this would so Calabi also hyperkillers?
I mean, for these varieties, in any case, things, once you have a holomorphic differential forms, things are going the other way, because then Mumford tells you the CH0 group is very big, there is certainly no decomposition of the diagonal, neither with Q coefficients, and so, but for Calabi-Yau, for example, when the canonical bundle is torsion. Torsion, there are many examples where we don't know, well, to the contrary, that means that there are no holomorphic differential forms. So it is predicted that the CH0 is trivial, and there are very, very few examples where this is not. It's even, I think, for example, if you consider, that would be very nice to know that you can easily construct examples. For example, you start from degree 6 hypersurface in P5. It has trivial canonical bundle. But now assume that there is an involution, let's say minus, so let's see what I need. You let act an involution on it in such a way that it will act by +1 on the H40. The quotient will be maybe mildly singular. So but it will have a sort of torsion canonical bundle, but not exactly this. The focus. And in that case, it is not known that the CH0 group of the quotient is trivial. That means there are really many examples where we don't know.
Even for Enriquez? For Enriquez?
No, that's known for surfaces, of course. Enriquez, it's a general result of Cass and Bloch Cass-Lieberman that the Bloch conjecture is true for surfaces which are not of general tape. So, really, Enriquez surfaces, there are now several proofs, very explicit, really playing with the explicit geometry of curves in the Enriquez surface.
Just a little technical question. Claire, when you were talking about the ZIs, the coefficients NIs, you said one could suppose that it's plus or minus 1. Is it completely obvious, or?
I exhibited the ZI for you. You have your D inside X. I did only the smooth case.
Yes.
But in the smooth case, you have your D inside your X, and you take D restricted to D. That gives you a divisor. It might be not smooth and might be not effective. But for sure, you know that you can write it as the difference of two smooth divisors in D. So, this is a difference. So there is a positive part and a negative part. This is just the argument. This is where I exhibit the ZI. In fact, in that case, I could just have actually the difference of two smooth connected projective, and I am just writing a divisor on D as the difference of two smooth effective divisors.
Okay, thank you.